Pushkin.
I mean, DC's very, on the surface, it looks like what it is, but there's all kinds of things going on below the surface in DC, I feel like, or beneath the veneer on the flip side, you know?
Musically, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
The percussive element definitely made its way. There's so much of that in go-go music. And when I went to Cuba, it changed me because it was the first time someone told me, like, stop counting and just play. You just play. And if the people aren't moving to the music, then you haven't reached that place yet. We're not locked.
How do you implement? In theory, that might be easy, stop counting, but how do you, in practice?
Oh, listen. You know, you just have to have complete trust and listen. I'm not good at it yet. You know, it's a constant unfolding of when you start to just trust yourself and you're just using your ears and you're listening.
Mm-hmm. I think you're awesome at it, actually. I was just watching a clip of you with Oliver Lake and Chris Dave, Dr. Strange, is that the song?
Yeah.
And you're standing there playing one of the most syncopated, original sounding bass parts I ever heard in my life. And no one is helping you hold those syncopations down. Everyone's working, playing polyrhythms against it. And you never lost that. I was just like, how does she hold this groove down with all this counterpoint going on around you?
I'm the drummer's best friend.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Probably comes from playing go-go and just having to hold it down so people can have a good time, right?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up where if you veered off, I mean, everything would literally stop, or you just would...
Someone would get hurt.
Someone would get hurt, or you'd have to really endure intense criticism after. I mean, painful jousting and dozens.
That's the environment you came up with.
Yes, go-go is a very masculine and intense music.
I have a go-go
genre.
question.
Yeah.
Chuck Brown or Rare Essence, who is the originator?
Just, they're both so very different. And I think the originator is a band called EU, actually, or Trouble Funk or Junkyard. There are many bands that were before them that didn't get any recognition. But there's a great Def Jam record by Junkyard called Sardines and Pork and Beans. To me, that is the foundational example of go-go.
When did go-go become such a part of DC? Like, was it always there as far as you were?
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm old, but not old enough to know where it stems from.
You just always heard it growing up.
Always. It was the main music. It's the only music that made money. Jazz gigs didn't make any money. I could play 5 nights a week on go-go gigs and make more money than my dad, and he had society gigs.
Oh man, like you, when you say society gigs, like
he was in the Army, so he played at the NCO club or would play at the Capitol, But the go-go was the driving force of DC, the 80s.
Where did your dad being a jazz musician,
mm-hmm.
and did you feel, and I imagine you learned, I mean, I read that your first real book came from your father. Did you feel like you wanted to maybe play more jazz? Or, I mean, like the fact that you could make the money doing go-go, was that the...
These are deep, long conversations. I think when you're young, you're first starting to play, you just want to find your community. It's funny, I was asking Abe, does he feel he belongs to any sort of clique or genre that's coming up? And I think that when I was young, I was like, this is the music that everyone's going to see. I'm making a lot of friends. And that's what drew me to it. It's like I got to be with like-minded people and we were trying to get good at something. But I also liked hanging out with my friend Federico, who loved Toto and Van Halen. And so I was drawn to that too. And the beauty about DC in the 70s, there wasn't genre-based radio. So I could hear Bad Brains and Parliament and, Kim Carnes and Gladys Knight. I just never felt that sort of separation. And so to say, was I into it? I was just into anything that would get me playing and meeting people who were trying to make things and make live bands, you know.
Yeah.
Were you always a bass player?
I played the clarinet for a while, but my brother played the guitar and his friend left the bass over. And once I realized it allowed him and I to interact and play together, I was like, this is what I want to play.
Did you try playing guitar before that? Like,
yeah, that didn't work for me.
no. Yeah. What about
different energy? I have more of a bass player energy. Guitar players are very, they have a confidence and a need to be out front. Sorry to make a generalization. I think I'm more of a, like, I like to watch everything and see what I can add that will be helpful.
I feel like there's a confidence though in that too. Like that there is a confidence in bass players that's comes, I don't know, I'm not a bass player,
Yeah.
but observing bass players are always intimidating to me in the sense that they're always listening. They see everything.
Natural leader of the band.
That's why they make good producers.
I don't know about that, but we're the natural leader in the band. We can turn around, we can walk, we can tell the drummer he's slowing down. You can throw up a hand to make it's coming. You know, you're the one that can like get it happening. You're the natural. You can walk up to the singer and be like, "We're at the verse," and you know, you just have a natural vibe with that.
Get the guitar player back focused.
And plus, yeah, you're all right. You're all right with taking your hands off the instrument, where a guitar player, a keyboard player, is not.
Yeah.
and you can play one bass note and change the entire harmony.
Everyone's a bass player in my band. Abe's father's one of the greatest bass players in Sydney, Australia. Amazing bass player. Chris Bruce is a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Jeb and Bruni, who play with PIL, Tears for Fears, also bass player first. So it's just a bass player band.
Sometimes someone else plays bass in your bands.
Yeah, Kyle Miles.
And why do you not play?
I come from, the reason I think I have a career is I made one catchy R&B song. And so I come from the R&B and go-go thing where I'm there to interact with the audience and I have to make some sort of connection to the audience. And I can't, when I'm playing the bass, I'm lost in that. And I don't have that connection.
Sometimes you do two basses, right?
Yeah.
How do you break that down? Does someone stay low?
We pass back and forth.
Pass back and forth.
I think the sound man creates a nice balance of us. And sometimes, it's just hard to sing and play I write certain bass lines that are so contrapuntal to the vocal. But it's also, it's like, it's not my shtick. I really love to play the bass and I take it seriously. So
You're such a brilliant bass player.
I appreciate you saying that.
And gorgeous songwriter. How do you balance the two? I mean, I personally, as a failed musician, you know, I mean, trying to find the time to work on songwriting, to work on, you know, early on, I guess. I mean, now you're in you're on your path, but
hopefully
early on, I mean, when did songwriting become a part of your life?
Oh, my father, he liked to go to pawn shops and he would just buy all kinds of equipment. And he bought a Rhodes and a little 4-track when I was about 13. And once I realized you could multi-track and layer things, that was a big change. And I was on a jazz gig and I flailed and I realized I'm never going to be like a virtuoso, but I really like making things and I found catharsis in that. I think that's when I was like, I'm going to be a songwriter. That's going to be my thing.
That gave you a way to be involved in music without being the virtuoso that you felt you
would never be.
Yeah.
When you're writing a song, are you hearing the textures that you're going to add to it?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I'm very, just don't want to sound like, I'm very aware. I have an awareness to the sonic feeling of a song. More so than harmony and construction, I really am trying to create an emotional feeling with sonics. I'm very sensitive to mixes. Like, I really feel like you can change the way someone interacts with the song just by slight variations in the mix. And I can't say where that comes from. I just I'm a believer. I just think it's a gift and a burden. But that's what I try to hone into, how the song makes the person feel. I can't tell them what to feel, but I want it to sound in a way that they can take it in a certain way.
How do you want to feel like?
Different all the time, you know. I when I'm making music, I want to feel an array of emotions that only I know. But when I put the music out there, I just hope it sonically hits a place where you can feel whatever you need to feel.
So you try to get to a place where at least you're feeling something, and therefore, hopefully, then.
Yeah, I sound like an asshole. No, I always feel something. I mean, I love music. All kinds, all styles. Good. I don't believe in good or bad. It's very opaque. There's certain things you may enjoy listening to, other things you might not. I take a critique like a compliment and a compliment like a critique. and that keeps me enjoying music. You know.
That's a really great way to think about feedback.
Yeah.
That's a really incredible way. If go-go was kind of the foundation of you learning to, well, actually, let me ask this too, because you said that go-go had a very masculine energy, but at the same time, you're a bass player, and as you said, bass player is really commanding the band. You're the leader. You're calling everything. How did that feel early on as you're a nascent bass player and you're in a very male-dominated or masculine genre? You're playing gigs in a genre that feels very masculine, has that energy.
Oh, well, I can only give an example. I had to play Don created this festival where you play one of your records in its entirety. And so we chose the first record to play. And I go back and I look at videos, and I am like a raging asshole in my vibe, in the way I play. It's like on 10, you know. And I know it's like a certain sort of style. I have it's just energetic frequency. I think I got from go-go. Everything really tight, you know, like the grooves are pulsating tight and fast, like the tempos are like woo, and so when we went to play it now, and it's just like I just don't even have that energy. I just don't even have that vibration.
Wow.
Anymore. Wow. And so I think it was I had a sense of preservation in order to make it. Like, I didn't want, the thing I couldn't stand is you play good for being a woman. That used to just crush me. And I just eventually was like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna play the best that you're so good that you don't say anything. And so with such command, I don't want to hear nothing from you.
Yeah. That's wild.
But thank God that's over. Youth and collagen, like, really make you an aggressive human being.
What do you? Where do you think that energy went? If you don't have that vibration anymore,
therapy and reconciling my traumas and a lot of weed.
That'll help.
I smoke a lot of weed. So much.
You know, I read this interview with Martin Scorsese where he was talking about when he first got out of film school. He had all this stuff he wanted to prove about what he could do, and then about 3 or 4 films in, it's like, all right, just tell a great story and tell it well. And I think that's just part of maturity as an artist.
Yeah.
I read that by your last album with Maverick, with the label you were initially signed to, that you finally felt like you could make what you heard.
Oh yeah.
What can you explain what that means?
Oh, because that's what got me the first record deal. Is that you have your whole life to make your first record, right? And you're so confident in your ideas. And that's what got the people to notice you. By the second and third, people start telling you what could help you be successful. And you can take it or leave it, or it can crush you. And after making 3 records that no one was happy with, it just snapped in me. Like, I have to remember, like, you know, this gift is not for me. You know, I mean, I'm so blessed to have it, and I need to continue to wait for the transmissions and to be honest with the music, because I rather fail doing what I was honest about than I jumped through all them hoops and made it different, and you still don't like me, or you still don't like it. You know, so all you have is just the feeling that I did my best. That's all I have. And what Don said is, eventually, you know, I'm not doing it. Eventually you realize you're not doing it for the claps, and the people that really come to see you are looking for a hint of sincerity, just a little bit, because I realize I pay money to go be outside of myself for a good 90 minutes and watch someone do what they love. And so that's what I started to focus on. Yeah.
I want to talk about those transmissions. Have you discovered a way to encourage them?
Yeah, I was fretting this interview because I knew something would come up like that. I feel a hint of shame sometimes, but I pray. You know, I'm a believer, and the moments I have to myself are just, and when I can hear my own thoughts. Like, I got rid of the phone. Like, I have a type of flip phone, and I just try to create a space for myself to listen, and I really find that helps creativity. And also, I stop. Sometimes I just stop for months and don't do anything. You know, everything's so rapid. I'm old enough to remember when people made a record every 3 to 4 years, you know, and it was only 8 songs.
Right.
You know, not 27.
Not 27.
Yeah. And so I just...
I think I know that's a reference to.
Yeah, I love that record.
It is a good record.
So good.
You both have American Requiems now, by the way, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
Beyonce's new record.
Love her, my Virgo friend. Yeah, you just, I don't know. You just, how do you do it? You tell me. Like, how do you wait? You aid people in bringing, you know, things to fruition. How do you keep yourself buoyant? How do you stay interested in music where you're seen as someone? Not only are you planting the seeds, you're tilling the land, and you're also out there selling the product. Like, how do you maintain, buoyancy?
I draw inspiration from artists like you, for real. You know, we've never really talked about this because we mostly limit ourselves to kind of almost musical small talk. And that's because I don't know how to approach you about what the essence of what you do, because it's beyond, I can't describe it, and I don't know how to verbalize it. But we've been doing, I do the same thing you do, produce records and play bass, but I don't know how you do what you do. I can't. And it's not like it's happened once or twice. Every one of your records is just magnificent. You know how I feel about your records? You ever seen the pictures of the universe shot by the Hubble Space Telescope?
Yes, I do. I follow that.
And you look at it and you go, wait a minute. That little dot is a galaxy like the Milky Way, and we're looking at it 100 million years ago because it's so far away. And the colors are that's how I feel about your records. I don't know what you're plugged into, but I know I can't get there. But I've worked with a couple other artists. You know, I think Wayne Shorter was one of those people. I think Bob Dylan is one of those people.
We love Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan's amazing.
So much.
Your sonic vision and what you're able to convey through sound is the equivalent of what he can do, you know, with words.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you do it. It's just mind blowing.
I appreciate you saying that. I will carry that with me today, and when I have my losses, I will think of that. Take that L. Yeah, I have really good friends now too. I mean, that helps a lot. And we listen to a lot of music. Like, we just try to, what are you listening to? And you DJ the dressing room tonight. And just, you know, I just try to listen. And I've been having some students, which is really puts you in a strange position because I'm not dogmatic. But the only thing I tell them, if you don't like yourself and like to spend time with yourself, you're not going to get to that creative space that you dream and hope for. You have to really like to sit with yourself and explore the instrument or whatever tools you're using. You have to relate to them, like, and master them like painting or any other medium of art.
Yeah, that's a really great point. The alone time required to sit there and just go run something down hours at a time, you know, day in and day out, day after day. Requires a lot of alone time.
A lot of alone time.
It's hard to stomach sometimes.
Yes.
How's your? I mean, Abe's your drummer in your band.
Abe's my friend. Yes.
Your friend.
Abe's my friend.
It feels like you have an actual I know the records are Meshell's records, but it feels almost like you're creating within a band. You know,
definitely.
How's it been playing with Abe and Chris Bruce?
Oh, it's great. I had a low after playing with Chris Dave. I didn't think I'd ever have that sort of feeling with a drummer that I felt. I felt like we were somehow like Vulcan mind meld with rhythmic experiences. But I was doing a setting in at Berkeley, doing a little workshop, and I met Abe. He's one of 3 drummers, and I could just tell. I was just like, you don't really need to be here, and I'm gonna figure that out. And it's funny, the instructor, he was not the one that instructor felt strongly about. And I was just like, I know. And so him and I would play during that whole time, and I was just like, I'm calling you. I'm gonna call you for a gig. And I called him, and since that day, it's just I'm growing. He teaches me so much in terms of rhythm and harmony. He's such an accomplished musician, and taught me so much as a person. Chris too, who I met at during Bitter, which was a very hard time, a record people didn't like, but he introduced me to T-Rex and all these other amazing bands I would have not come in contact with. Jeb and Bruni, I mean, just a genius programmer and player. I just feel like I've met people where I feel like we're growing. We're not in a time. Like sometimes you have a band and that band is a time. Yeah. You know, you did this together and you're going to keep doing that the same way for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Right.
And this is the first time I'm like, are you going to play the keyboard on this? I don't know. Maybe I'll play. Let's get some vibes happening. You know, everyone's open to change and growth. And we respect each other's individuality. And we've been through a lot together, both joyful and not so joyful. So it's a good bond.
That level of freedom you experience with you guys now, where it's like who's playing well. Like, how does that play out? Like when you're writing, like has it impacted the way you write?
Oh yeah, like Omnichord is a very special record because I had so much time off. You know, COVID was a life-changing experience for me. I have a house in the woods, and I got to be in that house for long periods of time and just be with myself. And so I had some different instruments to work with, and we were working a lot on score, the four of us, the core group. We did like several TV shows, and we just made a lot of music together in a very compressed experience. So it changed the writing in the sense of like, I have an idea, send it back, do this, do that. And I really wanted to get out of that. And so I collected a bunch of songs, but we went into the studio together to complete the writing. Like we knew that together it was just germination, and then we'd all come together and things would just start to sprout and grow.
Can you describe that a little more in depth? Like you come in with a rough idea in a session, and just everyone just set up and start playing, and you pull out the good ideas and you keep refining it. How does that work?
Well, first I'll say I think that your demos are a world of their own. Like they're amazing. They're kind of, it's all there somehow. And then you have a great ability of letting go and then trusting the people in the room to take your shell of an idea and make it their own. And I think that's the kind of the process. It's never really talked about like, hey, I think it should be you should play this drum beat, or you should play these particular chords. It's just more like the feeling. It's like, let's try and tap into that feeling and how you would, your own version of that.
Yeah, through your body.
Yeah.
Is that what you're listening for then when you get demos?
Yeah, totally. For sure. It's just like, for instance, if it's like I'm trying to recreate a beat or something, we're not trying to recreate it, are we? We're just trying to like tap into the feeling of what a beat does, or if the rhythm of it, or maybe the lack of rhythm in it. So it's just like trying to, and like we're also a band, and like there can be conversations about where's the one, but that and usually if we get to that place, if we're trying to like quantify where it is, usually that's not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
So it's just like if you hear it there, that's fine.
Also, if you get to know me, this is a facade. I don't really talk a lot. And I'm like, we're never all going to get together. Like, let's talk about where the music goes. I'm going for that tone. And, I'm not that person. I'll just, I have to trust the musician, or I'm getting a part that someone's trying to do something. And I'd rather you be inspired by the part to do something, not do my part.
Gotcha.
Because that's how it feels as being the so-called leader. And I think that's kind of limiting to the song. And the Omnichord Real Book was my hope. Like when my father gave me that book on that first gig, was to create things that musicians like to play. Like their foundational understandings of harmony and a rhythm and a time, but you have to add something to it, to make it feel good for us. Yeah. And that's how I approached the last record. Just like, here's some ideas, but Abe wrote some songs, and we just all sort of come together and create.
It feels communal. It's a communal. It's a community,
and a lot of ruthless editing.
Meshell is a master editor.
Ruthless. I'm a ruthless editor.
Really?
Do you actually push people away and sit behind the computer and
I
do
make people leave
Yes.
so I can sit and listen, because the talking while you're listening, I can't deal with. Like if we're gonna listen to the track back, we're gonna listen, and I try not to listen. Which I just worked on a project that's really serious jazz, and I really struggle when we come back to the listening, and they only listen to their part, and they don't listen as a whole. You can't tell me what the bass player played. You're just listening to yourself, and it becomes myopic. And so that's my only other thing. Like when we listen, we're gonna listen, and you can tell because we know each other when we'll go like, let's do it again. We just immediately go back and do it again, or we go like take a break, just step away from it, and just let it sit for a minute instead of finding a problem. Because sometimes I'm learning too after time. I mean, are you really nitpicking, or can you trust yourself now? After 30 years of making records, at what point do you go like, that's a good take? And luckily, I have a younger person who's like, he'll just tell you like, no, I'm not. That's great. I'm good. I'm not doing it again. You know, Chris too. I have people around me like, no, that's good. Stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're right. Like,
on that jazz project you were talking about,
Yeah.
Did you get over that hump of everyone just listening to their...
Well, I just observe. The energy I just had now I would never have. I just observe. I watch them and I listen, and then I have to figure out how to or communicate something that perhaps they could do differently. You know, but I'm learning. It's a different time now from the conversation. We were having this conversation about like legacy, and like you have to learn from the past and you study a certain thing to get good at it. But I'm encountering a lot of youth who are very studied. And I just wonder, I'm now asking the question, how do I get you to let go of perfectionism or some idea of how something should be so you can flail, and within that, find something else. And that's my only dogma. I remember doing sessions with Shaka Khan, and I used to just be enamored with my friend David Gamson. And she would sing like 10 lemons. I mean, 20, 50 lemons. Incredible lemons, too. Like preserved lemons. And then she'd, whatever. And she'd be like, I feel it. I feel something in that one. And then she'd go and build. But there's never this like, she's just like, sometimes it's fun.
Unbothered by
I'm unbothered by it. I don't care who's listening. Yeah. I'm not afraid who's listening. I can just, I might make, like, that's how I'm going to find where I want to be.
Yeah.
If you're producing an artist as opposed to being the artist, how does it change your approach to the studio?
Depends on what kind of music. Depends on what kind of music. When it's like a production where it's like we're programming, it's like we're writing vocal part, like a just certain sort of pop R&B thing, it's really a detailed interaction. Yeah, minutia. I got to get to a lot of just getting the person comfortable. But I'm dying to do more sessions where, like, let's make a record in 3 days. We're just going to play live. We're going to have 1 day of rehearsal. We're going to play it. You're going to trust yourself. And I find a lot of people aren't really up for that. Nope. But I just try to be, and I guess it's my age and coming to understand myself as a two-spirit person. I think there's part of me that understands competition, the need for self-expression as a musician, and that wanting to soar. And then the other part of me understands, like, you are giving of yourself. How can I make this a good experience for you? Sorry, it makes me cry. Like, how can I help you make something and feel really good about it? And I'm glad I'm learning to balance those two natures. One that's like, I hear you, man. Let's hit beast mode, right? Like you're here with your brothers and sisters, and let's hit beast mode. But then there's the part of me that there has to be someone there who's like, how you feeling? You okay? You need to take a break. You need to walk away from that. Yeah. Let's walk away from that.
Yeah.
Let's try another color. You know, I'm not there to tear you down, which I come from the 80s and 90s where the producer was there to poke the bear. You know, there's this idea that this should be like a tussle a little bit, and I don't think I want to be that. I want to be a mixture of Rudy Van Gelder, Craig Street, Brian Eno, Arif Mardin, and Mary Oliver, you know, and also not be afraid of the dark, like there's a writer I love named Sheila Heady, and just try to get to you in a way where you're just not like singing and dancing. I want you to have an experience with the music.
Let's talk. I mean, maybe we can talk about some of those people, what those people mean to you. Rudy Van Gelder is a name that doesn't get talked about.
Sonic and the Blade. He's Sonic and the Blade. Ultimate ruthless editor. Craig Street creates an environment for you where you can do your best. You know, Don was people person, right studio, sonic genius, arrangement enhancer. That's what I found out, a couple of things about, you know, there's that, because that's a part of production I feel is lost. The arrangement aspect. You can have a great melody, great head, but who's going to help you put the steak on a nice plate instead of the trash can lid? It's a great steak still, right? But how you serve it to me that's gonna affect me. There's just so many styles of production too. Yeah. He's producing in this period of time as a young person. I think it means different things. It means I made the whole track for you and you sing on it.
And I think it's got budgets too, right?
Yeah, but we had budgets to go where we could
small budgets. These days, everyone can make something that sounds great in a room by themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't envy him because I also grew up with deadlines. I made music when there's like, you mix that in 2 days, that's done. I got to take the tape off and turn the knobs back and zero the board so I can do the next mix. There's no going back, because going back costs a whole mix.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many like takes. You don't have to, yes, you can piece me together. I don't have to be able to play through the whole track. That's a difference. And I think that affects how things feel.
Are you too young to have worked with analog tape?
No, yeah, I totally know how to cut tape.
You do, yeah.
I went to engineering school with Bob Yesbeck. He mixed Sailing.
Nice.
Christopher Cross.
One of my favorites. But yeah, I'm a Luddite. I'm not keeping up. I'm really one of those people, like, I miss the time it takes for the tape to rewind.
Yeah.
So you're just not listening to each section. I love, like, people, go to bar 40 and you're just on 40 to 43. Yeah. Go to bar 10 and we'll stay there. And I'm just like, there's no song to me anymore. I'm like, I've lost all context. He'll tell you, I'll be just like, I'll come back when y'all are done. I'll just be like, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, I don't. Who listens that way? And I'm one of those people, I want to make songs for the people who are in their Prius and they're trying to get to work or get to the charger before anyone else. And they just want to have a good time. And it sounds good and it feels good, you know?
The new record feels really good. Really, really good.
I appreciate that.
And it's a lot of you. I was texting Abe like a couple nights ago. I was like, there's so many different singers too on the record. Like you and Jade Hicks, who I don't know who Jade Hicks is. Yes, you guys sound incredible together.
Yes, you should know who Jade Hicks is. Yeah. They're a family of singers. Justin Hicks, Jade Hicks, and Kenita Miller.
The Hot Plates.
Hot Plates. Yeah, and they're from Indiana. They are preachers' children. But that's the other thing. Sorry if I'm long-winded. I was given so many great opportunities by other musicians. And I really feel the Omnichord is that for me. I think they are some of the greatest songwriters and singers. There's Tandisa Maswai, who's from South African, who I think is a genius. I just produced something that's coming out with her soon. I just want to share all that I've been able to experience as a musician, travel and playing for people, and that's what all the vocalists mean for me. Like, no one does anything alone, and I also am not a dinosaur. I can see the meteor coming. And as I watch other musicians age and change, because I'm 56 and there's no way I'm trying to be up there singing and dancing for the rest of my life. And I just want to be a good springboard for other people to do their craft and do their thing. And it's a blessing. I learned so much. There's an amazing song it's on the Dylan level lyrically, which is Gatsby, which is written by Samora Pender-Hughes. And like hearing that song, it's that feeling you have when you're like, God, it's saying everything I wish I could say. And I hadn't had that feeling since hearing Prince when I was 16. And I heard that song and I was like, and that's my way. I think he's a genius and I want more people to be exposed to him. And then it shows the arrangement talents and gifts of Corey Henry, because if you listen to both versions, that's what I'm hoping, like, hear where he took the harmony, has Joel Ross, where I'm like virtuosic, but I really loved setting him into a more African diaspora with the marimba and the vibes on a few of the tunes, where it's not like people are listening for his blazing. It's just like, look how he rhythmically is fitting here, and his songwriting improvisation. I just wanted to be like, people do a lot of things. Josh Johnson.
Same with Josh Johnson, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just if I may talk about him.
Secret weapon.
I was here in LA to score for a TV show, and I lived here months at a time. And I would go to the ETA to see Josh,
which
Jeff
is a
Parker.
jazz club in Highland Park.
Oh, cool. And
Belrose.
Which is unfortunately not around anymore. But
rest in peace.
That's right.
I know, right?
That's really sad.
I know, and that was my sukkah. That was my, I would just go there, and I know I would hear something interesting, and I heard him play. And then one day I was watching TV, and he was the keyboard player for
Leon
Bridges. And there was just all these things coming out. He was so musical. And I wanted a producer, because also eventually you need someone to help you. I'm lucky I have real friends who let's get some help. And I wanted someone who we all respected and loved and who knew us. And Josh Johnson said yes. And that was like a game changer, because he brought something none of us had. And he wasn't attached to us and attached to me being something.
What was it that he brought?
Openness, clarity, virtuosity, and harmony and melodic sonic textures that I probably wouldn't have got to on the sax. He allowed me to bring Oliver Lakes. Oliver can compose, he can't play anymore because of Parkinson's. And I felt Josh had a similar spirit and essence of heart, but also he could take the charts and bring them to life.
So that's Josh playing what Oliver composed?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. But also no attachment to us being anything, which we've experienced.
And I think we behaved better amongst ourselves in the studio, having a fifth band member essentially who would play with us sometimes, but just listen in the control room. We were trying our best, because we tour a lot, we're all together a lot, so there's band dynamics which exist, and it was great to have somebody there who's just made it all feel like just a bit more relaxed. And
was your Billy Preston?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was
in some way. He's Billy Preston.
Yes.
So yeah, he was our fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
You recorded with Billy Preston, right?
Oh yeah, definitely on the second record.
Yeah. A few cuts, right?
Yeah. He's amazing. Oh God. Just touch it, your neck bob. I can't explain it. It's nothing like it. You're just like, oh my God.
What was it like being around him?
You really want to go there?
Yeah, I want to go there.
Well, I had a son at the time, and David Gamson told me not to bring my son to the session, to be honest. And he was just someone who lived in my mind on a record. So I didn't really go with any expectations. I just went to play, but he was another one. Very little talking. Very little talking. And we put up and he would just play. He'd be like, "You like that one?" And David would be like, "Yeah, do another. You got another one in here?" And he would do another one and be different and fantastic. And then just to the point where Dave was like, let me not abuse this man's kindness. But it was just like watching a master. I was very young then and not so adept at, I should have went and talked to him, but I just had others around me who were like, let's leave him alone at that period of time in his life. You know, but I mean, it's amazing to have, it's Billy Preston. Not so much for the Beatles, but for me, you know, that's Nat King Cole's. You know, it was like seeing someone my parents loved. It was like adoration and also just reverie.
He was the original B3 guy, you know, like, but it wasn't it was in church.
Yes.
And he was he played with Little Richard. You know, they didn't have B3 and they didn't have rock and roll before. And I always thought what he did with the drawbars, he painted like you paint. He created sonic worlds that were very emotional by playing with the drawbars, which is getting to be kind of a lost art. And,
you got it. You got to hear this cat named Jake Sherman though.
Good.
He's the truth. Yeah. But plus the organ for me is like, I call it the chocolate spaceship. It just it just can take you somewhere. And that's the thing I did notice. It was not only was he like rhythmically just, I hate that word, funky, but he was just the funkiest person ever in my life.
He has the most unique pocket.
The pocket was insane.
Yeah.
But you're right. He could create, it was like he was playing a synth. And if you listen, he plays on Who Is He? And it's like, it's chucking, but then you hear these other colors that he's just doing in between the verses. And it's him like padding with the bars. That session had Paul Reiser. And I remember just being enamored by him, to be honest. That's what meeting him was like a dream. He did the arrangement to Rocket Love. Wow. And we found him, like he was unhoused. And
in Detroit.
Yeah. And we flew him in, and it was really hard because this was before, you know, just getting him the plane ticket, getting him on the plane. And he finally got there, and he literally came with nothing, like just his body. And we were like, do you have any charts? He's like, right here.
Take me to Kinko's.
Take me to Kinko's.
Yeah. He used to write stuff, you know, in a taxi cab on the way to the sessions.
Frightening.
You know?
Just frightening, though.
Yeah.
Which is frightening because you have a whole session waiting for the guy.
But he delivers.
Rocket Love.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And then
I didn't realize it was Paul.
That's what took over the Billy Preston session.
I'd never listened to the strings in that, really.
Died,
I've heard it.
Unhoused with nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's the whole, that's to me, that Motown world must have been rough. I can't imagine.
Yeah. What made you go after? What made you want to get him for that record?
That.
Papa was Rolling Stone. Those strings.
Yeah, all the Marvin and Tammy stuff.
Yeah, he's quintessential to your listening experience, and no one knows it's him.
He did Never Too Much. He did that Luther Vandross album.
He did Never Too Much.
Yeah.
Those strings are ridiculous. Dude. That's
right?
the whole.
But he did all Norman Whitfield stuff. He did all the Marvin and Tammy, which is just all those
encyclopedia right there.
Yeah.
And all in his head.
Take me to Kinko's.
Take me
to Kinko's.
Is that what he said?
That's hilarious.
And the sweetest guy, too.
He just wanted to go like I want to go eat. I remember that too. Me and Dave were like, you want to eat? Where do you want to eat? And he was, this is what I want. And we were like, let's take it, eat. Let's, whatever you want to do, you know?
He wrote what becomes of the brokenhearted.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wrote the music, yeah.
Wow.
It's a gorgeous
Which
song.
is real deep, man.
Yeah.
Those voicings are whoa.
just like that is, amazing. Hindsight, it all comes back to me. I just remember being completely enchanted by him. Yeah.
You got to, on those first couple of records too, you got to have play with Benny Maupin and Bill Summers too.
Yeah. And again, and why do I want, Headhunters, life-changing to me as a bass player. As a bass player.
Yeah.
It's the reason I play flat wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was just like, that guy needs to give it the flat wound game.
That's when you changed the flat wound.
Changed the flat wounds immediately.
I was thinking about how you referenced a couple of times that bitter. No one liked. You keep. I feel like you said a couple of times. I'm paraphrasing, but no one liked bitter.
That's the best-selling one though now.
You're right.
Yeah.
So what?
I mean, when I handed it in,
You mean the label didn't like
the label didn't like it.
bitter.
So did that color your perception of the album? The label's reaction?
Yeah, that was yes, it did. Yeah. I started the record with David Gamson, who had did the first two, and we went in for a meeting, and they didn't like it, and they fired him right there in front of me.
What did they not like? Do you remember?
Just they told me I should make black music.
Okay.
Well, to be honest, yeah, if you want to be honest.
Was it a black guy, black man or woman saying that?
No, it was the head of the label said that, and along with two other A&R people.
You should make black. Did no reference to what black would?
Oh, I didn't have the wherewithal to come back with any witty repartee at that time. I'm kind of like, yeah, I wasn't really. I just was crushed. I think I'm like literal Spice, I just was like, I just couldn't compute. And at that time, it's funny you asked me that question about was I sober. Bitter is completely sober record. It was the moment like I wanted to change my life. I moved from an urban situation to LA. I was like, you have palm trees? I'd rather struggle here by the beach. And it was like I felt I was at the best I was in my life on that record. And then I handed it in and they were just like, no, absolutely not. And so I had a little bit of the budget left and I called my dear friend Craig Street. He produced Nora Jones, Cassandra Wilson, just a life-changing person in my life. I met him when I was like 20. He was plastering walls, and he heard my demo and got me some work. But I called him, and that's where I met Chris Bruce and Doyle Bramhall. Wendy Melvoin plays on that record. Abe Laboriel Jr. So the record you hear as Bitter now is like I was feeling great and completely clear my mind. And you do all that, and we did it in 5 days. It's a 5-day record, 5-day record. Because that's the thing about Craig too. Why I want to bring that back. Working with him, been some great experiences in making records, and they're done with a deadline, with a certain amount of time. And Bitter was one of those. Like, this is what we got. We're done. It's done. Go mix it.
So you worked on it first with David Gamson, and then Craig Street. How much of the stuff with Gamson is still on the record that we hear?
Nothing.
The
only song I knew I wanted to do with David, because I really liked singing with David, was "Fooling Me."
That's a great song. Beyond the record label's, rebuke of it, which whatever. Yeah. Did it feel? How did that feel putting that out there? I mean, it almost feels like the musical equivalent of like putting an autobiography out of almost like, wow, this is.
Oh, I mean, the artists are self-absorbed. I wasn't thinking about that at that time. I was like, this is what I feel. You're in your own cathartic self-absorption. I didn't really think about any of that. It was just I had to go tour a record with no support. That's all. I was like, I have a record that no one. And they kind of shelved it, and that was cool. And that shows you the beauty of the cross-pollination of film, TV, and music. Someone used it in a film, and then that changed the whole trajectory of the record. I learned a lot from that experience. It made me want to go and hide, but at the same time, that's the moment I had to realize that's where you click in and go, they're not important. They're just a patron. I don't feel this about you. See, that's funny. This is why this relationship is so different being on Blue Note now, because I am older and more present in myself. I see that we're working together to bring something fruition. That was at a time on Maverick where you're just the tax write-off or the artist. I need you to make hits, you know? And so when they didn't like it, I just kind of moved on in my mind of like, I met Wendy Melvo and Lisa, Coleman. I'm good. I played with Abe Laboriel and we made loops together. I'm good. Mm-hmm. I met Doyle Bramhall, who is like...
How did you meet Doyle?
He came to that session with Wendy. They were working on his record. And that is like, yeah, I was like, I'm good. I met him. And I only say this because they always remind me. I met him. I was like, if I played like you, I wouldn't need nobody, no girlfriend, no nothing. If I'd just be with myself, listening to myself. I'd just be like, look at me go. I'm amazing.
What an endorsement.
Oh, no, he is like amazing. I just would be like, I don't need you.
Do you still play with Doyle ever?
I want to. He's floating around the world. It'll come together soon. Yeah.
Okay.
He's floating.
Did you meet? You knew Prince before Lisa and Wendy?
No. I had a choice to sign to his label or Madonna's label or Warner Brothers.
Paisley Park,
Warner or Maverick. And I was working with Benny Medina and Peter Edge.
Warner.
Yeah, they were the people that brought me there. And Peter and Benny were like, do not go to the Prince label. They were nice about it. They were
stuff happening already? Or
no, that was after.
Later. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, really? I was just like, because that was going to be I was like, I'm going there. And they were like, nah, don't go there. Go here. You'll be the second artist they sign. You'll get a lot of, it's all under Warner's. Just go here. And I was like, okay. And so I chose that. But I talked to him on the phone. But him and I never really had good interactions.
Okay.
I can't say why, but I loved him. He's like a great inspiration. I think him and I would have had a much better relationship outside of cameras and sort of things like that. I think he had a lot of expectations, and I'm a pretty regular person. I'm really easygoing, and there's a lot of energy and stuff around him at that time. And so I just sort of knew I should pull back. And he could be harsh if you did something he felt you shouldn't do.
You went to the studio with him.
I went to the studio with him.
You did?
Mm-hmm. A couple of times.
in Minnesota? Or out here?
In New York. Yeah.
What did you guys work? Was it for you or for him?
For him, yeah. But it's a lot. It's a lot of... It's how do I say this? I met Wendy and Lisa before I met him, and they told me, maintain yourself, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Just to be honest. That's what they said verbatim. And I could see how it's mesmerizing to the point you lose yourself. And I just refused. I didn't want that in my life at that time.
Just the aura?
The aura, the demand, the view. Plus I worked, he could be difficult and opinionated in a way. Because I never want to speak ill of those who are not here to speak for themselves. But it was complicated. I wish I could. I can't imagine what it was like to be him. I really cannot. Unfathomable. Not just the gift, but just being someone where, like, you had to stare at him. He was the most captivating person, Do you
remember first encountering his music?
Oh, exactly. I know exactly where I was. I was 12, and I was at a party my parents were at, and they were all upstairs playing cards or something, and it was the For You record, and I played it, and I never heard anything like that in my life, and that's the moment I said I'm going to be a musician. And that's what he means to me. That's the moment I was like, I'm going to be a musician.
Wow.
That's what I want to do.
Wow.
What drew you to it? The photo?
Oh yeah, the photo of him and
were
his
like, "I'm gonna
eyes
put
are
that
going by the afro, and he's sitting on the back naked on a horse. Oh my God! You're 12. You know, your hormones are kicking. It's nothing like it.
Just putting myself in your situation. If at that time, if I had heard Prince was interested in signing me, there would have been nothing stopping me. Like there's nothing stopping me
Oh yes,
from.
there was. There's Sheena Easton. He wrote, you know, he put out music and he wouldn't let the person be. Yes, there were. You know, like having your own label. You have to. Do you want to make? There's a brand to consider, but at that time, he was the brand, and I think I want to make something different. And to be honest, I'm gonna say it. I think I was just a little too urban for him. I have a little more edge. I'm a little less Hollywood. I'm not the lights don't fool me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Being labeled mixed with Madonna versus Carmen Electra, I guess too, it's a little different. It's a little
different ego there. Yeah. Different vibration. Yeah. Different parties too. Let me tell you. Different party scene.
I'd like to have seen both.
Woo! Okay. Yeah.
Well, do you remember like going to one of your first parties where you just like, you know, a Madonna?
Yeah,
like
one of my first parties was the book party, where the sex book
for
party.
the sex book,
yeah.
the release
with
party.
Paul, yeah, that was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a different thing.
Was Big Daddy Kane there?
Yes, yes, he was, and all of him.
Wow, wow.
Didn't you go onto the you went on like just to meet her at the library or something? You invited her to the
Oh
library.
yeah, I
You
invited
made
to
a
the
mistake.
library.
You
I
didn't
made a
realize how-
mistake. I realized you can't come to the library, girl.
You invited
the
Madonna
museum,
to
the museum.
wait,
Yeah, the Met. The Met. I was like, let's go to the Met. And then I was like, oh, and then all these people came. I was like, this is not, I just want, this
She agreed to it.
Yeah, she's like, great. And then, and I was like, that's not happening. But that's the Prince thing too. You just like, we can't go hang out. It's never going to be like, I can cook for you or make it, it's just, you're larger than life.
I didn't realize until we were going to do this that
What?
your contribution to Bedtime Story, that was supposed to be Tupac? That was supposed to be Pac?
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Yeah. Did you know that at the time?
Yeah, we all knew that at the time.
That was supposed to be Pac. You knew that you were like,
Everybody was like, we have a problem. Like record needs to be done because it was very close to that. Yeah.
Did you meet Pac at all?
Oh yeah, several times. Oh my God, such a kind man in my experience of him.
And he had spent time in Baltimore too, so I guess he would have understood the DMV thing.
I remember the last time we were it was a Ben Harper show. We ran into each other. Love Ben Harper. Love Ben Harper.
What a time to be alive. Wow. Ben Harper,
So
Pac,
good.
and you.
Yeah, I met Rick James. That's a big one for me. Rick James and El DeBarge came to one of my shows, and I do brag about that.
Together, they came together?
Together. And they hung out together the whole night,
That must have
and
been a
they
scene.
were on 10. And they came in the dressing room and sung for us at the piano.
they sing?
It was incredible. They just was jamming out. I do brag about that one. They came.
They came to your show and sang.
My show.
And sang.
And then hung out in the dressing room and sang. They were
feeling it.
They was feeling it. They were very alive together.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a highlight for me. And Larry Graham and Marcus Miller stood on the side of the stage while I played.
Come on.
That's what I brag about that
That's
one.
hard.
What would you...
No, I was still young and full of collagen. I was just like, I'm gonna play the hell out of the bass.
So it inspired you rather than it
Yeah, I
did
wasn't
not
nervous.
intimidate.
Who's your favorite bass player?
Probably James Jamerson, Willie Dixon.
Billy Dixon. Yeah. All right.
But, Ron Carter, too.
How's your upright?
You blew my mind. I was telling her that we were on the phone maybe a year ago, and I was telling her I took a lesson from Ron Carter, and he showed me a thing about releasing the notes. And I asked her how she did it, but she misunderstood what I was saying, and she told me when she did it, which she said, I release it like in rhythm with the hi-hat. Releasing the note is as important to the groove as attacking the note. And that just never crossed my mind before.
Wow.
But that could be go-go thing too. You got to make all that space.
Well, it opened. I worked on that I was on tour when I talked to you, and that's all I thought about for the rest of the tour. It just kept, and it changed. It wasn't long enough to internalize it fully, but it changed the way I approached it. And when you change that, then you change the next note that you choose. So it set the tour alight, man. It was fantastic. Like 6 months, I rode that wave.
What is your relationship with America? I guess you grew up in the nation's capital. Your dad was a military man. You almost joined the military?
Almost joined the military, yeah. I took the ASVAB test. I was hoping to get into the Air Force, but I only scored high enough to get in the Army. I don't know if they tell people that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I just thought there was no future. The way I grew up, it was really hard, and not being educated. I thought that would be the path for me, but could you imagine me with a gun? Yeah, exactly. It being angry. Can you imagine the energy I have on that first record? And I have guns.
Might not be here.
I'd be a different person, But my father was in the military, and that military changed my life.
Did he want you to join?
Yeah. Yes, everyone did. I'm born August 29th, 1968, okay? I am as old as civil rights is. And when I was growing up, my mother was like, you need to get a post office job, or you need to figure out how to go to community college or join the military. Those were your options. Like, that's what was expected of me. My mother has a 4th grade education, and my father only graduated high school. So, that their dream for me was just to find something solid. So, of course, yeah. I mean, my relationship with America is I am the offspring of an obsolete machine. You can't legislate kindness. You can't make a law that's going to make you treat me differently from, by the color of my skin. But I can't imagine what it was like for them to grow up way before me and have the experiences they had and raise children and try to be a healthy human being. I was angry at my parents, angry at my upbringing. And I have to realize that we're all Americans are subject to living somewhere where it's sort of a revisionist history. I have to realize I can't think about my freedom-loving, fathers who made the Constitution. That's not my story. So I no longer connect to it. As an American, I feel like it's complicated and we need a lot more nuanced conversations. But I know in my heart of hearts that we all, no matter your race, your gender, whatever, all these like generalizations you want to get under, little flags, that at the bottom of it, you're just a human being trying to make the best of this unexplainable experience. And so I just want to cause less confusion, cause less problems. And whenever you can encounter people and share this message of love without sounding hokey, that's what I try to do. No one has any answers. I don't believe in power anymore. I think I was raised to think like, woo, you need to gain power. And I have no interest in power anymore. I'm really into what kind of exchange can we have? Like, I won a Grammy this year, and people asked me about it, and I had the deepest depression after it, And then, I had to start just configuring in my journal, like, come on, see the positive things of it, And I realized the most positive thing for me, if you don't mind, was I went with Abe. And, when you win the Grammy, they usher you through the back, like, take a picture, drop the Grammy, you take another one, you take another picture, go to the press, blah, blah, blah. And in the press thing, something kind of messed up happened. Mm-hmm. Someone mistaked me. They were like, what's it like playing with David Bowie? because I look like Gail and Dorsey, or just limited in their scope. But then I was like, I was like, pew. I said, let's talk about race, actually, to the reporter. Shut down all interviews, and then that's when I realized, like, this is not my thing. I'm always going to focus on the music. But the other highlight was we're in the lounge with all the people who won, and this man comes over and just starts what I call talking at me. When you just talk at me. We're not talking, you're just at me. He's talking and talking, and I could feel Abe's energy change. Like, just, Abe is like, oh my God, the flower. But his whole energy changed. Like, you don't remember me? And I was like, what is happening to the guy? He says to the guy, you don't remember me? And I was like, whoa. So I just stepped back a little bit, and Abe was like, you were my teacher.
My drum teacher at college. At
Wow.
Berkeley. But he did not recognize me at all.
Wow.
And wasn't nice to him.
Wasn't trying to recognize you, probably.
But wasn't nice to him. What did he tell you when you were in school?
He said that you're right hand dominant, so you'll never ever get called to play on a record.
A teacher.
Yeah.
At Berkeley?
Yeah.
Fuck.
So then that, again, another moment of like, this is why I'm here, because this is hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a good...
Yeah, we were just like, but look, his right hand is killing.
His right hand is real dominant.
Real dominant,
Did
killing.
you actually get to say that?
No, I just felt in my heart I wanted him. I could see these were two men, and they need to have that interaction. And but I was like, this is why I'm here. This is why I won. This moment is why I won. I don't, it's my own, like, low self-esteem. Did I deserve it? Is it real? What's it mean? You go through it, and then you have a moment where it's like, nothing to do with you. None of this has anything to do with you. It's these moments that are important. It's all the people that help make the record that will hopefully have other experiences come from that record. Everyone has something they believe in. But if we're going to make this country, this experiment work, the best I can do is cause less fire.
Yeah.
Less fire.
Thanks, Meshell and Abe. Appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you
man.
having us.
No.
And much success to you. It's such an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for checking out Broken Record on YouTube. If you want to listen to us on the go, be sure to subscribe to Broken Record wherever you listen to podcasts.